Welcome back to another roundtable. My name is Adam. I have Rusmin.
Hello.
And Victor.
Hi everyone.
Thank you so much for joining us. And National Day just came by in Singapore.
Happy birthday, Singapore.
Happy birthday, Singapore. So it was last week, and today we're going to talk about something about Singapore because of National Day. I thought it would be a good time to
feel so patriotic.
Talk about it. Yeah, it is. And we want to talk about why Singapore is a great place to invest in. Because when it comes to the stock market, we don't exactly have the biggest or the most exciting stock market, and a lot of people can kind of like compare it to maybe like the US, which is the best, right? And they go like, oh, Singapore is not the best place to invest in because it's not as sexy or exciting. Maybe the growth rates aren't as explosive like the US, but we want to share with you a few reasons why we think Singapore is still a really, really good place to invest in, and we go through the reasons, and then at the end of it, you can decide for yourself. So why don't we
start with the first reason? Why you should look at the Singapore market? Because Singapore has the best chicken rice. So because if you invest in Singapore, right, and one of the things that as an investor you do is, of course, do your due diligence, right? And if you are based in Singapore, obviously it will be a lot easier for you to really do your due diligence. So for example, in the past, I used to invest in BreadTalk, right? So, and they have outlets in all over Singapore Island. They have Toastbox, they have Food Atrium, right? And then all the Food Republic. So it's a lot easier for me to just drop by and see the traffic, whether they are getting any traction, especially over the weekend, right? And especially same thing if you invest in some of the properties, right? It's very easy for you to invest, to really do your due diligence, right? Versus if you were to, I have an investment in a company that is listed in US, but they are based primarily in Brazil.
Okay.
I mean, there's no way for me to fly to Brazil to.
It's gonna be a long flight to Brazil.
Right? So that kind of make it difficult for me to put a sizable amount there. So it's just going to be a small part of my investment. So it's because it's just too far off, right? But there's a lot of potential in that company. Yeah. So I think closer to home, if you start off, I mean, you can say the same thing if you're Malaysian, invest in Malaysian market. Start off from where you are.
Okay.
Right?
So in the context of Singapore, for people who live here, Singaporeans or residents, it's a great place to invest in because then you have the advantage, the informational home advantage.
Yes.
You understand how these businesses operate, how they grow, how the customers are, choosing the businesses here and all that.
Yes.
Okay. So that's the first reason that it's great to invest in Singapore.
Yes. Home bias.
Home bias. Okay.
And also I think probably because the Singapore companies, they are not only just Singapore companies, right? They also have access to other Asian markets, right? So you have like companies like Hourglass, right? It's not only in Singapore, it's in Malaysia, Thailand, and also Australia, and they are ranked number 1 in terms of watches over there. A distributor, I mean.
And our banks, I think their operation not just in Singapore, they have also operation in Hong Kong, China, like for OCBC in that case, right? And UOB also. I mean, they are very well exposed in the Asian market, right? And of course, if you also look at other companies like Jardine Group companies, they have like operation all over the Asia, right? I mean, we talk about Dairy Farm, right? Versus CPO, right? And so that kind of gives you an idea that these businesses are not just based in Singapore, but Singapore is probably their HQ, and then they will expand it across the Asian market. So if you're looking to capture the Asian growth, right? And this is the market where you can actually come by and take a look.
So it's not just Singapore. Like when you invest in a Singapore company, it doesn't mean just the Singapore domestic market. A lot of these companies have regional presence in Asia. And Asia is a growing continent, is a growth story and all that. It's probably going to do pretty well in the next few decades. Most people believe that.
Definitely.
So we have, and Singapore is basically a gateway to Asia in a way.
And of course with the listing of the Singapore depository receipts, like the recent listing of those Airport Thailand, CPO, right? And so that will give us more choices right down the road.
That's true. So that's just for Thailand. So I do believe that SGX will have ideas to bring in more companies from other areas.
It's a good start.
It's a good start. All right. So that's another reason. What's the third reason that we have?
I think is dividend.
Okay.
I think people just like to be invest in Singapore because of dividend. I think most of the companies, I think at least 60 or 70% of the companies, they actually pay out dividends, right? And it makes sense to pay dividends in Singapore because firstly is tax free, right? So that means we receive our dividends is tax free, and And also in Asia, right, I think because of the tax-free, right, they don't tend to do a lot of share buyback because a lot of the Asian companies, the ownership structure, the founder or the main owner tends to own majority stake. So by doing a lot of share buyback, it does not benefit the minority shareholder. So that's why giving out dividends makes more sense in Asia, right, as compared to the US. Right.
And you talk about tax-free. I mean, we have a group of trusts that are very popular among Singaporean, also the investor, which is the REITs market, right? Real estate investment trust.
Singaporeans just love properties.
Yes.
That's why.
So if you're looking to have pie on the Singapore property market, I think the best way to really invest in property market as a foreigner, for example, right, is to really invest in Singapore REITs, because Singapore REITs own I think at least more than 50% of their underlying assets are actually based in Singapore, right? And as you know, Singapore is one of the best market to invest when it comes to property, because of the limited land size that we have.
And Singaporeans love property.
And then love property. There's a strong and huge demand, especially after the pandemic. I think how government handled the whole pandemic, actually it kind of motivated a lot of rich individual during the COVID period. They all want to base it here because of the access to the
I was like expecting property prices to come down during the pandemic, and then it actually went up.
Because Singaporeans cannot travel, so they spend their money buying properties.
And only it went up, it doubled up, tripled up, especially for landed.
A lot of property here has been on a crazy long-term upward trend.
So I think in terms of the tax structure, just now when I shared about the normal operating companies, right, they don't when you receive a dividend, you don't get tax because there's a one-tier tax on the corporate level. So when you receive it, you don't get tax. But for the REITs, a bit different, because if they were to pay 90%
of the distributable income, they will be exempted from paying tax. So that's why yield from REITs are a lot higher generally, right? And that's the reason why I think REITs market in Singapore are actually very vibrant. So in fact, we are the second largest in Asia, in REITs market in Asia. Of course, you can't compare with US, right? I mean, within Asia itself, Singapore is the second largest after Japan.
And if you look at the REITs market, a lot of the REITs they tend to own retail malls in Singapore, right? I mean, the retail mall in Singapore is very different from the retail mall in the US. Because in the US, probably if you want to travel to the retail mall, it takes you an hour or two and all this. So that's why
not that far lah.
Not that far. I'm not so sure. But then it could be quite distant. So the mall may not be that crowded as compared to Singapore, right? Because in Singapore, I think, what can you do if you don't go to the mall? I think there's nothing much to do except going to the mall.
Malls are always crowded here.
Not only I think you get access to retail, nowadays you also get access to data centers, right? Even those they are listed in the assets are based in the US, are listing their data centers here because of the popularity. Of course, you also have the office that are based in US, Australia, Europe, right? I mean, it's not all are good, right? Or you just have to filter them out, but it kind of gives you there's more option that you can look at, whether it be when it comes to like hospitals or offices or industrial assets. I mean, there are more REITs that are actually listed in Singapore, right? So that will gives you a lot of option for you to whether just invest in Singapore market or even outside of Singapore market.
And even foreign REITs, foreign companies, those property overseas, they also want to list their REITs over in Singapore.
Yes, we have US REITs, Chinese REITs coming here as well. Right. Australian REITs as well.
Yes.
All listing on the SGX, because we just have built a pretty, like you said, vibrant REIT market. And we as Singaporeans just kind of like
love property
and dividends.
And somehow the investor for the REITs, they tend to know all those metrics to look at the property.
Okay. Right? All right. So I want to segue into the next point, because you brought it up, which is tax. So I think the tax environment in Singapore is actually very friendly toward investors as well.
Definitely. I think many years ago, I think there's a research talking about the millionaires in Singapore, right? And what's the percentage of their wealth in each of the different assets, right? I think many years ago when I read the study, right, you can see that the number one assets that most investors become millionaire, right, is actually from investment, right? Property, yes, but that was the past. But right now, most people's assets are in investment in terms of the equities and the bonds, right? So when you invest in equities or bonds, right, you make any capital gain in Singapore, right, there's no tax and there's no dividend tax also, right? So that's the advantage of investing in Singapore. Basically, it's tax-free.
So everything you earn, you get to keep.
Correct.
Which is fantastic for investors. I mean, I mean, who wouldn't like that?
Yeah. Even if you buy physical property in Singapore, on your rental there will be property tax on that. Yeah.
And there's no inheritance tax.
So for those who want to pass their wealth down, I mean, you can build your wealth to millions in Singapore. And then when you pass on, the whole thing goes to you, whoever you want to give it to.
You don't get taxed like the US as high as I think 40% or something.
That's for
depends on the tier.
Yeah, but that's for foreigners holding US assets. So there's tax over there.
So I think because of the tax advantages that Singapore has, that kind of attracted a lot of tycoons, right? So multi-millionaire or billionaires, a lot of them actually moved to Singapore. Just to name a few, Dyson, right, the founders, and then Haidilao founders. I mean, when you have all these rich tycoons coming to Singapore, right?
Your celebrities too.
Celebrity, yes. And there are a lot more people that you do not know them, but they are very wealthy Chinese, Indian nationals. They are all coming here, and that strong demand of these people migrating to Singapore actually leads to a very strong currency.
Okay, right. Which is the next point.
Yes, so that is also the next point why I think Singapore is a good market to invest. It's also because it has a very strong currency. If you compare Singapore currency against Asian currencies, it's extremely strong. Right?
They tend to strengthen over the years.
And I actually, my father-in-law also, I mean, every time when he comes to me, asks for a stock tips, okay?
So you do give tips? Only for certain people.
Yeah, only for certain people, right? And, when I talk to him on certain companies that are, dominated in US dollars, traded in US currencies, he said no. He just want to stick to Sing dollars. That's how much people like about Singapore
I think
dollars.
it's the older generation because my aunt and my uncle also, I invest for them, but they just want to invest in Singapore stocks and SGD. Right?
Yeah, but I can understand that because some people just don't want to have that currency volatility, right? So sticking to the home currency is the best way to do it. And Singapore, apparently, the internal currency has held up very well against a lot of other markets.
Yeah, I mean, sticking to home currency is one thing, but it just happens to be that our home currency
is very strong.
It's very strong. So it holds its value over time. It's not gonna kind of like lose its value all of a sudden or anything like that because it's a strong economy and
we have the best airport in the world.
We have a lot of best things here as well. Best airport.
I think it's because of political stability, strong economy,
so many things,
and a lot of businesses they like to come to Singapore and all this. That's why all these factors create a strong currency.
All right. So actually, all these are real fundamental reasons why Singapore is a great place to invest in.
And obviously the most fundamental part is the politics system in Singapore. So far it's been very stable, right? So I think that kind of like the foundation of any things that when you look at for country to invest in, that political stability is very, very important as well. I mean, we all take it for granted, right? Because I US naturally it comes with it. I think Singapore has it, right? So it's something that we don't
not
really
every
look at it.
place in the world is stable.
True,
right? So Singapore is one of those places that has done pretty well, very well actually, for the last 50-70 years. I'm lucky to be here. So I mean, I don't want to beat the patriotic drum just because National Day just passed, but I think we just want to clear this up that a lot of times when we talk about Singapore stocks, the Singapore market, sometimes people go like, not so exciting, but we want to point out that it's pretty good.
I can kind of agree that I think for those people who are seeking growth, I think US definitely have a lot more options, especially when it comes to choices in terms of quality of companies. And if you're looking to invest in companies like Google, obviously you can invest in Singapore, right? Because they are all listed in the US. And so Singapore, obviously, although it has a lot of strong points, it also has limited choices when it comes to growth companies, right? And you just can't, looking for growth company in Singapore market because there's only limited pool of companies.
You tend to look for dividend, but you still can do reasonably well.
There's still some level of growth. It's just not
because I think one of our friend AK he actually did reasonably well in the Singapore market.
Extremely well, no? Extremely well.
I just tried,
But like you said, it's not a binary choice. You don't have to just invest in the US or just in Singapore. You can have a mixture of both. According to what proportion you're comfortable with. And these are the advantages of Singapore. These are the advantages of US or whatever other country there is. And you just kind of like create a portfolio that suits your needs. So for some people, its dividends, income,
yes,
a strong stable currency and stuff like that. And Singapore checks all those boxes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I think that's a pretty good summary of Singapore. So just to summarize, it's because there's home bias for doing your research. Is access to Asian markets. Is a well-developed REIT market. There's very stable dividend growth as well. Strong currency, tax-free.
Yeah.
Is there anything else I missed out?
Majura Singapura.
Oh, Majula Singapura.
Good risk market.
All citizens here, all very happy Singaporeans. All right, so with that, I think we wanted to share with you why Singapore is still pretty much one of the best places to invest in our opinion, and there are a lot of good points that you can find over here, right? In the stock market. All right, is there anything else, guys?
Nope.
No. All right. So with that, my name is Adam Rusmin.
Thank you.
Victor, thank you so much for joining us. We hope you had a great National Day that just passed last week. But yeah, this is why we think Singapore is a great place to invest in. If you like this video, please hit the like button. Of course, any questions, comments, put them in the comment section. And of course, subscribe to the channel. Many more roundtables coming up, and we'd love to see you again.